I can't believe I'm even saying it, but I actually finished my TBR on time in April. The month I give up on TBRs. Who knew? Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up, and I'm going to be switching to the weekly updates since people seem pretty keen on those. So I probably won't do an actual wrap-up. I'll have to see if I have enough to talk about that I haven't talked about in updates, so we'll see how that goes. So this may be the last wrap-up for a while after we stop doing the TBRs coming up. But I did actually do pretty well this month. I've been behind all year, and I'm getting ready to just kind of do some more mood reading some random things, and being less specific. But let's talk about what I read in April. So first, I had to finish The Price of Spring, the fourth book in the Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham. I meant to get to that in March, and I ended up reading it in early April, but oh my gosh, did I love this series. Definitely 5 stars as a series. I had the bind up, so I didn't think about ratings for each specific book. But this was just fantastic. What Daniel Abraham is able to do with building, and each next entry as time passes builds on even some of the very, very small moments. The growth of characters over their whole lives, the different plots and pieces, and just the effects of even small actions. Really, really on display here. Very, very impressed. Definitely will be reading more Daniel Abraham, and I really, really love this. So I'm really excited. There will be a live show for The Price of Spring coming up actually in early June. We had to push it back a bunch, but so I'll make sure to let people know when that's coming up, but it's going to be a bit yet. But absolutely love that. So that was the first thing there. Next up then, I was finishing up Winter Warriors by David Gemmell, which this is I don't actually know what number it is in Junai, but this, I started with Legend, and so I've been continuing in chronological order. So this was the next chronological book. I think I have only maybe one more in chronological order before I have to go back to the beginning, or this might have been later. I'll have to double check on that too. But anyway, I've really, really been loving Gemmell, and this was very good. This was recommended to me quite a long time ago, actually, and so I was excited to get to it. Just definitely has that Gemmell feel with throwing it a little bit different. I liked Quest for Lost Heroes just a little bit more because the specific quest trope that was going on worked so well for me with that kind of satire, yet also very seriousness with it. This was also a really, really great book. I've just been loving Gemmell, and Gemmell is an author I absolutely need to read a heck of a lot more of because it has been really, really great. And this one, the plot is basically the demons apparently have been cast out into the void for thousands of years, but they're trying to return by orchestrating the sacrifice of 3 kings, and only a few mostly elderly warriors are basically left in a position to try and stop it from happening. So very, very Gemmell, very, very good. Then, the next thing I read was, finally got to the Fitz and the Fool trilogy with Fool's Assassin, the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is the last trilogy in Realm of the Elderlings. This was so good. I knew it was going to be, but after the Rainwild Chronicles, I just really needed a return to form. This was such a unique book for Fitz Book 2. It was very different in a lot of ways from the others, but the prologue had me hooked completely, and the epilogue had me completely emotionally crushed. So that's pretty much the Hobb experience. I just can't recommend Realm of the Elderlings enough. I do have my why you should or shouldn't read Realm of the Elderlings, because I do cover both. Video just talking all about it. So if you're interested and you have not tried Realm of the Elderlings, I'll link that video down below so that you can check it out too, because this is just, it's absolutely, even after the first 9 books, it was already my number 2 series of all time. And this last trilogy feels like it's even going to up it even higher somehow, even though it's already at heights that are basically impossible for most book series for me. So there was that one. I did then read, and I might even have the order off here, but I read Traitor's Blade, which is by Sebastian de Castells, the first book in the Greatcoat series. And I don't have a physical copy yet because I borrowed this from my library. But I'd been meaning to try out Greatcoats for quite some time, so I finally got to it. And I did enjoy it. I did do a full review on it, which I will link down below. It was very different than what I was expecting because it definitely had like the humor and the quips, but it also like it went between that and being quite darker overall in tone, which I wasn't expecting. It's a book I enjoyed in the series. I will definitely be continuing. If you do want to hear my full thoughts, like I said, check out the link in the description. I do a spoiler and a non-spoiler section of that review, so make sure to check it out. And then I also read The Very Best of Kate Elliott, which is a collection of short work by Kate Elliott, which was also from my library, which is why it's here. Well, that's why it's not here and why I'm showing you the picture. But this was, it was an interesting one because I love Kate Elliott. Specifically Crown of Stars, and I need to read more Kate Elliott, but I'm not usually a fan of short work, but I had read some of her short stuff before, including her new one, The Servant Mage, and I thought it was really good for being a short, like, novella or, short story, and she manages to fit a lot of depth and world building into her short stories, so I was very interested. Like any short story collection, some of them were hit or miss, but some of them were just incredibly well done, and I didn't think any of them were bad by any means, but there just were a lot of stories with, once again, the depth and the amount of world building that Kate Elliott is able to fit into these stories is amazing. There was even one from the Crown of Stars world, and that wasn't even one of my favorites, because some of the other ones, even though they were about things I had no idea, because they weren't based on some other series, they were just so well done, and there was so much depth, they ended up winning out over it, so that surprised me, but it's a really nice read as well. Then we went to a bit more middling. I read Prey by Michael Crichton, and I had read, the only other one I've read is Jurassic Park. I still need to read The Lost World, in fact, but did this one with a buddy read with some people in Discord, and this was interesting. It's very much the Crichton, like, techno thriller, where you get a lot of technobabble and, like, high-tech, sciencey stuff that is probably completely, like, nonsense, but that he makes sound so reasonable in his books, which he even did in Jurassic Park. Making it seem like it was so reasonable and it could happen. So it sounds like to me that that's one of his hallmarks. So that part was interesting. This book focused on, it's basically what's happening is it starts with a very human story of it's a man who had lost his job in like programming, and he's a stay-at-home dad for his kids, and he thinks his wife is cheating on him, but then he finds out some stuff might be going on with the company his wife works for, involving some like nanobots and stuff like that. And so the human aspect I thought worked pretty well, focusing on that to have it be kind of the anchor instead of just the tech stuff I thought worked well. But the like thriller elements I did not care for nearly as much. It was really predictable for the most part, and it's just pretty much everything else, even the things that it wasn't trying to trick you, just fully relied on the main character never noticing anything or just missing things, and relied way too much on the, oh, something's definitely wrong here, but I don't have time to worry about this right now, I gotta go do this. And I'm like, no, you should probably figure this out, because yeah, something very obviously is wrong. So it fell a little bit flat for me there, but I didn't think it was bad. It was still kind of interesting, but it just, wasn't anything too crazy that, didn't blow me away by any means. Then we had The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and this one I both participated in a live show discussing spoilers in depth and did a spoiler-free review, so I will link both down in the description. For this one, I had very complex thoughts on. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was very well written, and especially for a debut, I thought it was fantastic. But I had some issues with kind of the narrative structure and some things that kept repeating later on with the way that things were done. So I like this, but it's going to take book 2 for me to really decide if this is for me. So I'm planning on trying to get to book 2 hopefully in May, but I'll have to see if I have time for it, because it is a chonker for sure. But I'll have to find out with that and just see kind of how I feel about it, and then go from there. But I did really enjoy Grace of Kings. Going back to more middling, we then had Red Sister by Mark Lawrence, the first in the Book of the Ancestor. And I really enjoyed Mark Lawrence's first 2 trilogies. And I know this was the one that was actually like the most popular. And this was what kind of blew Mark Lawrence up for being a little bit more well-known. And I remember hearing that, but I'm just like, no, I'll start with his earlier stuff, because I usually like to go in that route. Really enjoyed Broken Empire, really enjoyed Red Queen's War as well. So I feel like with this one, my expectations were a little bit too high, and so I was very underwhelmed with this. It wasn't bad, but my biggest problem is it reminded me way too much of the book Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan, but it was not nearly as good as Bloodsong. So when it was really, really hitting some pretty similar beats as that book and not written as well, it just kind of like that took me out of it a little bit, I think. But this one follows Nona, who is basically taken from her village and brought to a convent where they train nuns in like fighting and magic and that sort of thing as well. And so she is basically determining and like finding out what kind of powers that she has. And there's prophecies as well going on where they're trying to like basically find a chosen one. Now, the things I found the most interesting about this, and which hopefully will be extrapolated on in the later books, is kind of the world building and what the setup is, because this world, it takes place in where the sun is dying, and so there's some sort of like giant like satellite mirror thing that reflects light all around the equator. I imagine it's the equator, and keeps that as like the only really livable zone on the entire world, just the equator all the way around, surrounded by ice on both sides. And there's also talk that the people originally came from another planet, basically, and landed here, so you have that kind of like sci-fi thing. So none of that spoilers, that's just parts of the world that are built up. And so I found that to be very interesting, the way that that's set up as well. So I think there's still hope for it, but I was a bit underwhelmed, and so I'm hoping that books 2 and 3 will elevate it a little bit for me. But so far, definitely my least favorite first book in a trilogy from Mark Lawrence that I've read so far. So then we had the book I've been doing on audio for a good chunk of the month, which is The Dragon Reborn, book 3 in the Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, of course. And, I mean, you already know that I love this book, probably. I love The Wheel of Time and doing the reread. This was our book for April in the Wizardly Duo Discord read-along for The Wheel of Time. So we're doing Shadow Rising next month. And I had a blast with this. Just going back, and I really, really enjoyed the audio experience. It took me a while to get used to it because I've read these books so many times, and having the audio, it just really is a different experience. But I've really enjoyed doing the audio on these, and so I'll continue doing that as well. I will be doing my, I've been doing a video for each one of the Wheel of Time books with a spoiler discussion and probably some related content as well, so that'll be coming up. So watch out for that. I did finish this. It was after midnight. It was the 30th, and it was after midnight, so it was technically May 1st, but I'm counting that as being done in time, and that's why I'm saying this was the successful month, because I did, in my April TBR, I said I doubted it, but if I had time, I would also read The Coward by Stephen Arion, and I am mostly done. It's the first. I'm mostly done, so I'll read a little bit more tonight, and then I should finish this tomorrow, and then get on to just reading whatever, so I feel like I did pretty good for this month. This book I'm really enjoying so far. I was interested in the premise, and then Andrew started it before me, and he was telling me that it felt like very, very Gemmell-esque, as in David Gemmell, and as I was just talking about, I really, really have been enjoying David Gemmell. And so David Gemmell with maybe some like Abercrombie-isms with some of the characters. So I was very interested, and so far that has definitely been true. This definitely has some of the feel of almost like an updated type of Gemmell with a little bit more in it. It doesn't feel like exactly like a Draenei book by any means, but I would be shocked to find out that Stephen Arion was not inspired by David Gemmell, and I'm pretty sure Andrew specifically said that he was, but very, very Gemmell in a great way, but also does have its own bearing, and the way that it's written is really well. So I'm enjoying this. This will definitely be a light column unless like the ending crashes and burns, which I don't think will happen, but I'm not quite done with that yet. So that, though, is everything that I read in April. As always, let me know in the comments your thoughts on any of these books. If you agree or disagree with any of the things I've said kind of about them with it. I had kind of a wide variety of books, and that'll most likely continue because I'm planning on reading a lot of random stuff coming up, so we'll have to see. But let me know, like I said, your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat these books, any books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.